And kids, when you grow up, maybe you too can be a pundit. I am Denzel Snipes, and this is the Pundits Pundit, the show where we get into the tough conversations, no holds barred, no disqualifications. Once again, I'm Denzel Snipes, and I'm here with my cohort. This is Jenn Cheryl, the professional fan. Also, Jacob Christner, the Pundits Pundit, the Godfather Pundit, your mom's favorite pundit, your grandma's favorite pundit, your dog's favorite pundit. If there's a hornet's nest that's attached to your front porch, their favorite pundit.
Hey, including the dog's favorite pundit.
Including the dog's favorite pundit. And with us also, we have, he is, I don't care if it's a yacht, a speedboat, a canoe, a raft, you know, the one in Titanic that was a piece of the boat. He's the captain of all of that. He's the Motor City Madmouth. Scott, Motor City Madmouth, Morganroth. How y'all doing?
Doing great, and I am king of the road. If you don't believe me, what I did at Homestead Speedway last week, I'll tell you that I got to be a driver over there, and I took that bad boy, that NASCAR, 147.54 miles above the track average for what that increment is. So, yeah, Motor City Madmouth, king of the road, and boy, I enjoyed my adrenaline rush last week over at Homestead Speedway, and guess what? I am going to the Talladega 500 this weekend. Good stuff.
Absolutely, that's gonna be great right there. And NASCAR holds a staple part, in today's sports, and Talladega story tradition of racing. Glad you're gonna be a part of it. You get to see it up live and I don't know if it's your first time. I'm going to bet and say no, it's not, because you've been like halfway around the world. So, but maybe it is your first time.
Now that you mention it, I have been to all 50 states. Now, I've been to other NASCAR races and covered other ones. This is my first rodeo actually at Talladega. Looking forward to it. Well, I have been in all 50 states. Mexicans have seen me. Canadians have seen me. The only thing I haven't done is gone across a big pond yet, but I will get to that, God willing. All right. But
and Jay, you forgot one thing. I'm Senya and Sari's favorite pundit too.
Yes,
no,
I don't know about the other one.
I was the dog's favorite pundit, and Jay, we're gonna need to work on my intro a little bit more, okay? Well, especially the one below me, that slacker, a better intro than me.
Okay, I got you next time. I got you next time. And also want to remind viewers that Jen farted and blamed Alton just now. So, if you would notice at the bottom of the screen, on the bottom ticker, we are sponsored by the Score No Score app. So please go and grab that on Apple App Store and Google Play Store. It's gambling for dummies. You get a set amount of coins. If you find it awesome and you want to do it some more, you kind of got to pay out of pocket for more coins. But absolutely go and grab it. You can bet on any play. As of right now, they got baseball and football, and they're going to be adding more, or at least they should be adding more. But it's really great. You can bet on any play. You can bet on, is Justin Herbert going to throw a touchdown? Is Aaron Judge going to hit number 61? Is Jacob Christner going to cuss out Jacob DeGrom again? I don't know, but it's really great.
No, that's the easiest bet ever. What are you talking about?
It is. But please go and grab it in the Apple App Store. And speaking of which, the current count, if you're keeping score at home, there's your current Jacobs counter. I'm sure that number's going to climb throughout the telecast.
You're missing Harden. You're missing DeGrom.
I don't know if it's enough room on that line, considering that you hate fans too. Because I'd add fans on there, and that number's gonna go through the roof. But going on to our first topic here, and that is John Matuzak and a continuous problem with pain meds. So curious to know. I think Jacob, you actually came up with this one.
Scott started that. Scott started.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He started it because we did the whole Lyle Zato deal.
Oh, okay, then sweet. I know. As far as athletes go, especially, and we see whenever you bring that up, and I know, of course, you're going to talk on John Matuzak, but we did an All Pro Wrestling episode of Pundits Pundit months ago, and we brought up the addiction to pain meds and how athletes go through it and everything, and they take them. Pro wrestlers, they don't have like any healthcare plan or anything like that. The average wrestler makes like $400,000 a year under in World Wrestling.
Medical bill, take that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know, and so, but they don't have any health plan or anything like that, so they grow addicted to painkillers and such. And it's one of the factors why the average pro wrestler dies at the age of 53. I'm not saying that's the sole reason, but part of it is because they get addicted to pain meds, they get sick, you know, and their body gives out on them one last time. But
and honestly, that's why weed should be legal and why it should not be one of the illegal substances, because it truly does have healing
effects. It does.
Yeah, and I'm not a pothead. I don't smoke it. I don't eat it, but it's good. It's good for people. And honestly, I'd rather be behind somebody driving too slow on the road than a drunk driver.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, there's so much that I could say going in it. That trail off into a whole nother topic.
That's a topic for next Wednesday night.
But I wanted
let me tell you this.
I wanted to swing it over to Scott. You know, it's your topic, man. Go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, let me tell you this. I've been in the hospital with shoulder injuries and back injuries. I've had the Percocets and the morphines, and I'll tell you, I enjoyed the drugs because they took away the pain part, but I realized my doctors weren't going to give me any particular prescriptions because of the addictive nature of them. But, you know, I've had the morphine and Percocets, and they have done a lot to calm my nerves down. But yeah, John Matuzak was a tragic story. It really was. When you think about this guy, dies at the age of 38, and he played in the NFL, but he died in Burbank, California, and there were traces of cocaine in his system when he passed away, in addition to the painkillers per se. He is a two-time Super Bowl champion, and he also participated in the 1978 World's Strongest Man competition. So that's a lot of things that most people know. And when you're
at 6'8", he was a strong man at 6'8", which that is a lot of length to be doing that kind of stuff. That's real strength.
Yeah, and I think the reason I did get the idea, like you alluded to, Jacob, is because of Lyle Alzado. You see these guys dying young, and what this stuff does to your body is just ridiculous. It's just painkillers, whether it's steroids, it doesn't matter. It's still bad news.
Well, and there's the 27 Club and music.
Absolutely.
And he was also an actor, so I wonder if like the other drugs didn't come into it from acting, because drugs are bountiful on most.
You know what? And before I continue with Scott, let me ask you an honest question here.
Sure.
Whenever we were growing up, right? You know, the anti-drug campaign, this is your brain on drugs, all of that, right? Then there was like DARE. My school had DARE officers and everything, actually proved to be counterproductive. But they always said that marijuana was the gateway drug to harder stuff. But when we look at situations like this, especially in sports, because you said that this man, they found cocaine in his system. Do you think that it's actually other things that are the gateway? Such as pain meds, because everyone's trying to take that pain away or get that high and get higher and get higher.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, I have no doubt either. I mean, the reality is that when you start to get into pharmaceutical drugs, Denzel, like you do, I mean, depending on the dosage and the effects that everybody has when they react to a drug. And you got to remember, though, when you're dealing with a wrestler or a football player, it has a different effect than it would be on a non-athlete because of the physical contact and the beating and the fact that they can become a bit more addictive as a result. So to answer your question, yeah, think about this guy. Like you said, he's 6'8". He played from 1973 to 1982, going out with the Los Angeles Raiders, and has a couple Super Bowl titles. Very intense football back then. Back then, you even hit even harder than you would now because of the rules have softened a little, although albeit some of the athletes are bigger. But when you talk about guys like John Matuzak, Lyle Alzado, and I can even go back a little bit further with Dick Butkus. Anybody that's ever been hit by Dick Butkus, you get hit. You go ahead and get whacked into tomorrow.
Well, you bring up Butkus. Up Butkus for a second. Just think, if Butkus retired in 73, imagine if Butkus and Matuzak would have collided. The biggest deal, though, the biggest deal about all this is we talk about Butkus. He's kind of been in the news because he's kind of getting on the internet for the first time ever. They showed him on Twitter, and they showed him on all these things. You gotta wonder how much when we bring up this with Butkus, did he really pop any real medicine? I mean, did he quit at the right time? You have to wonder because he still looks healthy. He's over 80 and he looks healthy. He looks like he moves relatively well for his age as a football player, even though he has bad knees. You got to wonder if he just took the pain and just kind of walked through it, within exceptions, of course. You have to wonder those because the ones that, I'll tell you this, the ones that admitted they were all over pain meds and they just covered it up and everything, they can barely walk now. Joe Green can barely walk now. Richard Dent barely walk now. And these are guys that were just popping them like crazy.
You know, there are some of those substances that don't necessarily aid you from the outside. Right. They do more, like for example, anabolic steroids. They more do damage from the inside. As a matter of fact, I watched a documentary earlier on female bodybuilders taking it, and everyone knows the effects that it does to them. You know, but overall, it does more internal damage. Like they die of heart disease or stroke, right, or their bones get brittle. But it doesn't necessarily say age them. You know, so on the surface, they may still look in their prime. You know, but it does more internal damage, at least from the examples I've seen.
Yeah, well, that's what happened to. That's what happened to Lyle Alzado. He looked exceptional on his comeback in '90. Looked exceptional, and yet during his one game in preseason, absolutely just pushed around. Just did not have the. It's like I told you about Dan Severn that one week. He was 35 and knew he wasn't as strong as the young guys anymore, but he used all technique. It's like when you've lived your life off of pure power and you don't have that anymore, and you're not using your mind. It's like those are the things. But I'll tell you this about pain meds. I have one little thing about it. I have one example. I had wisdom teeth pulled when I was 17 years old. They gave me pain meds. Don't remember which.
Probably Percocet.
What?
Probably Percocet, because they gave me when I had my pull.
Probably Percs. Right. And it's like, well, here's what it was. It was 2 a day. One to wake up in the day, and one when you wake up, and then one before you go to bed, whatever. You know what I mean? It was just, they were probably light or whatever. Didn't think about it. They said no more, blah, blah, blah. It ended. It ended like right off the thing, and it stopped. And I mean, my whole face just felt like I was getting beaten with a ball bat. And I was literally telling my mom, please. I was banging my head against the beanbag.
Yeah.
Whatever. She gave me a Tylenol. It was like a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Well,
finally, I sleep through it. I'm decent, and I was fine the next day. But I'm like, I will never touch another pain med a day of my life after that, because that was scary for a moment. And you could just, that was just for pain. That was just for wisdom teeth. I can't imagine what.
Well, let's not get too serious. We're supposed to be entertaining right now, right?
What in the hell is that?
Well, I mean, it wasn't a wrong statement.
No. Let's get serious for a second.
But I'm just saying, I was banging my head against that. I mean, just imagine what these tough guys really go through with all over their bodies.
Well,
what do you think? I mean, Jen, you think you would?
So I'm that weird person. I really don't like pain meds. The pain med, I have one muscle relaxer, but I always say this incorrectly. Jay, you can correct me on it, but I always say it's non-benzo. So because it doesn't affect your mind, it doesn't affect anything. Like I'll take it at work and I'm perfectly comfortable doing that. But like if I'm taking Vicodin or Perp or Percocet or something like that, in New Mexico, I took one. I thought it was called Norflex, but I guess I'm wrong. But that jacked me up. Mm-hmm. And I even told my boss, I was like, I don't feel comfortable being at work because it wasn't supposed to affect me the way it did. And I'll be honest now, like if I have dental pain, I will literally just ask for a penicillin because I want the penicillin because that'll kill the infection, which will make me feel better. And even like the psychosomatic effect on that helps out more than anything else. But like me, I'm taking a Vicodin. I want applesauce and I need to be prepared not to sleep that night.
Scott, you want to say something else, man?
I got a couple of other interesting things I want to bring into the equation. Number one, I was at the only game in NFL history when a person died on the field. The Lions and the Chicago Bears when Chuck Hughes died of a heart attack, and I was 8 years old. Why am I bringing that up at Tiger Stadium? Dick Butkus was signaling over for help. Hey, Chuck is down. Get somebody here immediately. And this is a non-contact when it's a heart injury. And Dick Butkus was there. So for all the toughness that Dick Butkus did have, there was that soft spot that he had. And as a result, Chuck Hughes died. I was only 8 years old. I had nightmares about the whole thing that night. And it's the only time it's ever happened. Now, that's item number one. I mean, I mention it because you realize that everybody knows what a hard physical player this guy was, but there's a soft side. Now, I'm going to bring up a couple of other players. But before I do that, I actually do have some of those painkillers around my house because I've had operations, but I haven't taken them only when I need them because I've been able to control it. And I go to tizanidine as a muscle relaxer to stabilize me if I'm really sore. So that's item number two. But having been in enough NFL press box, Dan Deerdorf, the former St. Louis Cardinal and the announcer for the University of Michigan, who just recently retired, it has two canes it could barely get up.
I'm well aware. I know somebody that knew him and worked with his restaurant, restaurants, and she said even then, and this was the time that he was still an older guy, but in his prime, sort of, physically, he was even walking slow then.
Well, okay, then you bring him up. What about Earl Campbell? Okay, yeah. He's an absolute mess.
He's in a wheelchair.
Right. Yeah. Well, I said he's in a mess. So, and then the other one I want to bring up, I don't know what kind of condition he is, but I'll tell you what, he's one of the biggest busts that I've ever seen that was never a bust. And you know what that means? Okay, Brian Bosworth.
Yes. Bo ran him over on a Monday Night Football.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. I was so
Bo met him in the hole.
He did us all a favor. And then, of course, we all know about Tony Mandridge. I had a little run-in with him a long time ago. That's a question he didn't want me to ask. But, I'm not afraid to take chances. I'm a gunslinger, baby. I don't care. Yeah. I am the Motor City Man Mouth and not afraid to dig for stuff. But the biggest move or not. So, so I understand the level of painkillers. I still have a few here and there, but my wife keeps them in a spot where she'll only let me have them if I really get in trouble. Candy handles all my medicines, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Let me tell you this, Jen. You brought up muscle relaxer. Muscle relaxer scares me to death. I will admit this because the heart is a muscle. And it's like muscle relaxer, and that scares me half to death to even put one in me.
Yeah, so I really like the one that I have because it's perfectly clean. It's it's perfectly safe. Trust me. I researched everything that goes into my body.
I was on it once after a car accident, and muscle relaxer. The one Jen's talking about. It's like, but just like anything else, if you overdo it, of course you're gonna have problems. I know with Percocet, I learned my lesson when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and one night I took them like normal. Then I forgot I had taken them, and I drank, and my evening was over at 6 p.m. And I was like, I could never, get in. I don't want to take these any longer than I have to. Sometimes I try not to take them. But I get it. Some people, they put their bodies through a lot, and they depend on these pain meds, and it's just sad when they get addicted to them. One guy that we're about to bring up in our next topic had an addiction to the same thing. With that being said, it's an excellent time to segue into our next topic, and that is Ime Udoka, Brett Favre, and the media living off of clickbait. Now, I was kind of wondering what angle y'all were going to take with this one, because if you look at both incidents, they both are legit incidents. Like, nothing was really, fabricated. Okay, Ime did what he did, and Brett Favre did what he did. But in the interest of clickbait, and I'm going to take you back to when I was pursuing my journalism degree, and our professors warned us about putting things in a headline that are misleading, to get people to click on that article, and then it's something else totally different. You know what I mean? That's bad business. There are a lot of tabloids who do that, and there are some articles on regular sites that are guilty of it as well, because and we've talked about this. And yes, it's a problem that needs to be rectified. And Scott, that's why I'm so glad you brought that up last week, because nowadays it's like media agencies. Yes, it's all important to be right, fair, and accurate.
Right.
But nowadays it's a race. It's about being first. It's about being first. It's almost like they're saying, hey, we're going to put this out there now. We'll iron all the other stuff out later when we actually edit the article as the news is breaking, you know? But at the same time, if you mislead even 1-2 people, it's like, well, you're going to lose your audience. That's not what was in the headline, you know? We were misled. So I was... go ahead, Scott. I'm going to swing it to you.
Here's where you got problems. I mentioned Frank Reynolds to me. I was over at Arlington Cemetery, stayed at his grave site 10, 15 minutes in the cold weather. Wouldn't have cared if it was below zero. I was staying there talking to him anyways. And to me, he incorporated great values. What I hate about today's media, even though I'm a part of it, and I am, so, you know, you are what you are, you know, but you know what? You can post stuff up and then edit it digitally, where once it's in newspapers and it's in print and on paper, it's another story altogether. So, yeah, to me, I really think there's like a double-edged sword, okay, Jen, Denzel, and Jacob. You want to get it out there first, but it doesn't take very long to go out there, update it, and boom. But here's the problem. If somebody's printed the article out or shared it all over the place, it doesn't make any difference because they go by the original interpretation. True. Is what they do.
Right. I kind of like what The Athletic does, to be honest with you. They're not always the first at breaking news, but they make sure their information is right.
Yes.
It's very much like The Atlantic.
And they have a paywall. That's
politics
the unfortunate part.
And modern day stuff.
And they have a paywall. That's the unfortunate part.
Let me tell you, many years ago, I worked over at Channel 7 here in Miami with a friend of mine that was doing sports, okay? We were the first ones that went on the air. Then you had CBS, and then you had ABC. So we were really at a tough spot. So you know what? I took my Converse All-Stars, okay, and went back and forth to make sure that we got the most updated news while these other ones are sitting around waiting after their way. And I found it to be very competitive working in television behind the scenes to be able to do it. And my friend said, man, that was pretty good work on your part. They didn't even get what we had on there. But my point is, it's about being competitive is really what it is. The problem in this day is everybody's competitive, but they're superficial. And that's the problem. And that's why there's so much distrust in the media. But back then, we didn't have all this internet stuff. We had the UPI, we had the AP, and the wire services, and the ticker. So
yeah.
The fact that you brought it up, that you can talk about who Damie or Doka, Brett Favre, or anybody you want to put out there, but anybody, all you have to do is hit send. That's it.
Yeah. And before you go, Jacob, I did actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
From what me and Scott just said, it's about, nowadays being first. And seeing as, and Scott just said it, it's about the clicks. It's about the ratings at the end of the day. Do you feel that this is an end justifies the means kind of move?
People want to think so. But I wanted to bring this up about, you wanted to know what the angle was with this, where I was going with it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I brought this up because I saw this on Facebook. Someone they showed Brett Favre's the stuff that he did. The accusations and probably truths to what he did.
There's text messages to back it up.
Yeah. That's why I said probably truths. So you're right on that. But it's. And they brought it up, but you want to know what someone said on my Facebook, one of my 1,200 followers? You know what they said? They said, I brought this up. And one of the guys said that. I brought this up a couple of months ago. You know how many likes I had? 27. And it's like, and it went off the grid, and it went off of everything. You don't want to know how many Ime Doka had? 4, 5, or 7, 8 grand, whatever the amount. and it kept going. That's where the angle I'm taking that as. Meanwhile, Favre could get away. Favre got away with it for a lot longer because people didn't care, quote unquote. I think people would have cared, but the internet plays by the first. They play by this, and it's like, and yeah, am I angry at the Brett Favre with that situation? You damn straight better believe I am. Because by itself, this is somebody who has money.
Yes.
He could do this, but he's stealing from people. But why
Yes.
are we doing it this way? Why are we? But why? I don't give a crap about. I'm sorry, I don't give a crap about Ime Udoka's sex life. I just don't.
I'll partially answer that question before you continue. It's because of hypocrisy. And let me explain.
Oh, yeah.
Because for so long, they were saying, let's keep politics out of sports. When Colin Kaepernick did what he did, they were like, no, let's keep politics out of sports. But Brett Favre goes out there and steals from poor people and not a sound, not a peep. So now who's kind of guilty of projecting? You know what I mean? It's like, which way do you want to go? Which way do you want to take it?
Jen?
Here's the thing. Brett Favre was covered up with everything he's done, from sexually harassing women to this and everything in between.
He had a painkiller addiction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Omi and who he's sleeping with shouldn't have been a deal. I feel bad for the two ladies whose pictures were plastered all over social media, because you know what? It's not necessary. It takes two to tango.
And well, it's embarrassing, and that's embarrassing to him.
And you're hanging people out to dry, and you don't know who it is.
We've just gotten to this point in America, and when it's always been like that.
Sensationalized. But here's the thing: it's also out of Boston. We all know what Boston and Boston Celtics have that reputation for, even now. Favre is now starting to break news because mainstream was starting to notice what was going on. Mainstream was like, oh, why is Ume getting all this? Why is he getting all this press when Brett Favre is actually doing something a hell of a lot worse? And that's where we are.
You said it, Jen. He's gotten away with a lot for so long. We've gotten to a point at some point in time in America where because he has money, oh, he's untouchable. Or because he's got a talent, oh, he's untouchable. It took an entire documentary to take R. Kelly down, even though he done what he done for years, right?
And I canceled his ass in 2003. As soon as it came out that he married Aaliyah, I canceled his ass.
And but it's not just R. Kelly. It's like that with anybody. People have managed to measure bank account with character, or they've managed to measure talent with character. This is how Aaron Rodgers get created. Okay, as great of a football player he is, but he can go out there and he can say what he said regarding the vaccine and lying about and all the other kind of stuff. You know what I mean? People have equated bank account with character. That's why you see these billionaires that can do whatever the hell they want to that affects the economy. And I know that's a whole different story, but my point is this, is at some point in time, they have to separate income from the people that they are. Go ahead, sir.
You're missing one point in this whole thing, and I want to make sure I don't omit it, okay? He lives in the poorest state in the country.
Yes.
And as a result, he is revered there. So every now and then, if you live in one of the poorest states in the country and you're revered there because, hey, Brett's one of us, as a result, they may be inclined to look the other way. Now, I'm not telling you that it's right or wrong. Let's just leave that one out of this equation. Where Udemy, Udoka, the Celtics coach is taking an involuntary year off. Yeah, the sex life thing, I'm not one to get on anybody for their personal policy, whatever they do, but the Boston Celtics being a marquee franchise, and I've always thought them or the Lakers was America's team in terms of the NBA, they're trying to hold up to a Celtics standard of excellence. That's what you have. But the one thing I know, your analogy about money and whatever, fine. But when you are in the poorest state, and what people are saying he stole from poor people, but built a facility for something that people will be able to use, albeit dishonestly, I understand. And I'll tell you,
But
I'm
only
not
local people can
filming.
use it because you're in the poorest state and only local people can use it.
Right.
Whereas
but the thing is
the rest
this,
of the monies would have been able to be spent all over the state too.
Jen, let me tell you something, okay? I'm not condoning his behavior.
Oh, I know you're not. I know you're not.
No,
I know you're not.
I just want to make sure I said that right. But the manner for the fact that he's in the poorest state and they may look the other way. I believe the governor was part of the cover up. They always say the cover up is worse than the crime, right? How many times we that? Well, I mean, it kind of falls into this situation as well. So Denzel, you're right on all your accounts. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't forget the Mississippi aspect of this whole thing, that he's an icon in the poorest state, and that has to be taken into consideration.
Absolutely.
He has unfolded. That's it.
Absolutely. And you know what? You didn't say anything. I'll swing it to Jacob here in just a second. You didn't say anything wrong. You're just putting what's real out there, because everyone else outside of the state of Mississippi and the poor states of Mississippi, they see him for a scumbag. But high society Mississippi see him as a hero. So you're 100% correct.
So you know what? There's a big rule that you have to understand in journalism, and I've learned from the day I got into business. Okay, you have to be objective and look at both sides. You really do. You have to be objective. Now it's so easy, whether it's back 40 years ago.
Well,
or
Dan Rather ended that. Dan Rather started that.
I know that, but what I'm trying to tell you is whether he started it or he didn't, you still have to do the best you can to be objective is what you've got to do. And we all know that everybody's had their mark in the industry, whether it's Peter Jennings, Dan Rather, Walter Cronkite, whatever. But the same standards have always been there, Jacob. Be objective. And nowadays it's impossible, more so with new media, because there's more ways to get your opinion out there. And then the new media is like considering spinning a top or whatever the case may be.
Oh, no. Here's a different way of saying it. Impossible to get noticed. Impossible to get noticed. If you're not, this is the thing. It's not impossible to have objectivity. It's impossible to get yourself noticed on something like that, unless you want to get rage mobs, which the rage mobs need to be ignored.
Right.
They need to be ignored. People have got to start ignoring these rage mobs because it drives me nuts.
Right.
But the thing I think about with Ime Udoka and bringing everything like we had with Brett Favre, we had all that. Why everybody brought, and I'll bring this up. Celtics, the standard, okay, the excellent standard. You telling me the Celtics 5 of the 80s did not snort cocaine? Give me a break. Sorry, they did, and I will put Bird in there too. Love him to death. Love him to death.
All right, Jay, you know what time it is?
Huh?
I said, all right, Jay, you know what time it is.
I'm on it, Captain. Go ahead.
But no, I'm saying, you telling me he or MJ didn't do it? I'm sorry, it's true.
Actually, I don't know that I could see MJ doing coke during the season.
I'm saying after the season, doesn't matter when. You know what I'm saying? It could be after the season, but I can absolutely see it. It's like, but it wasn't our business then. It's not our business now. In the fact, though, we because we're making everything our business,
right?
Some things get missed,
Here's
including Brett Favre.
Do you want to know why I think this is a really big thing with Coach Udoka?
Go ahead.
Honestly, I think it's because he did better than Brad Stevens.
That is not a bad take. Keep going.
I just think that's what it is, because
keep going.
Brad failed so well that he promoted himself up. And you've got a man who has literally worked as a FedEx driver, worked the scales to get to a head coach position and the NBA. And his biggest fall is he had sex with a chick, consensual sex with a girl. Or, I mean, even if it's a guy, who cares? But and I get that, Jordan. Hold on, let me show this. They say it's a team role.
Who cares?
I promise you, they're not the only ones.
Not even close.
It's a rule at Wells. We have to sign an affidavit at Wells. My husband and I have to do this attestation twice a year. And it's okay. I mean, but that's where it went. I think at the end of the day, this sucks because Brett Favre's his story is going to be history in 3 to 4 months after this civil lawsuit.
If that.
And for the rest of this season, this is going to be a headline for the Boston Celtics. And next year, too.
Now, I don't know if you knew this, but I think Sirius XM Radio took away his show for a while, and there have been a few other things that have taken place until this whole thing settles out. So he's not in Milwaukee or on Sirius XM Radio because of that. So, so there are some steps being made in the media where he can't express himself until a lot of this washes over. And no matter what the dilemma is, okay, with any situation, if there are sponsors involved, the sponsors are going to try to cut away a little bit so they don't feel like they're financing anything if it goes against ethical standards, which a lot of these things generally do.
You want to know one of the biggest problems I've had with journalism and media is the fact that everything feels like revenge. I'll explain. Everything before, when we went through the COVID time, remember the COVID time, and we had George Floyd, and we had all those deals and stuff like that. Right. There was accusations that it's like, okay, right now they're going to go after the white person, that kind of deal. Even though we saw the video of the whole George Floyd situation, we see all this type of stuff. But do you want to know what we have right now? And by the way, they said Marjorie Taylor Greene's husband files for divorce.
Yay! But you couldn't handle her back craziness either.
Yeah, but she's an idiot anyway. But no, but the biggest thing was, do you want to know what we're having right now? The Ime Udoka deal, and then they are just destroying Ellen DeGeneres, destroying her. Crushing her. It just came completely out of the blue.
I thought that died down like 18 months ago.
Oh, no. It's going back. It's coming back. And they are crushing. And they are doing. And it's like, now it feels like, we went after them. Now we got. It's like, it feels like woke goes after woke. And
people are just bored.
Crushing itself. You're right, but I'm just saying, everything crushes itself because we all have to have revenge and have a moral standard that no person has. Everybody thinks they have a moral standard on the internet, and no person has it. And then we are looking for revenge at all times. And so you want to know what happens? You get this Ime Udoka thing, but then the stories like Brett Favre's get lost because it doesn't get enough. And it's like everything is a revenge tactic instead of looking for actual, journalism.
And honestly, the only reason why the state of Mississippi is filing a civil lawsuit is because they got busted in agreeing with it. So they have to cover themselves. And that's the only reason. Brett Favre is skeezy. Coach fell in lust with a good person. I'm just saying. I don't want to say in love. I'll say in lust.
Notice he's not in any coaching thing or any media deal.
It didn't affect his coaching.
Huh?
It did not affect his coaching whatsoever.
No, it isn't that. But I'm saying, you notice he doesn't have any big-time media deals, the coaching deals, anything like that. People know he's skeezy.
I really think it comes down to Brad Stevens made this a big thing because he is still the president of the Boston Celtics. And because he was jealous of the fact that coach was doing better than he did.
That's really the point
that locker room where Brad Stevens had decimated that culture in the locker room.
And that's a good point. What I was saying was Brett Favre, though. You notice he didn't have any big media deals. He doesn't have any big coaching deals, anything like that. Someone with his quarterback
now has a bunch of infomercials.
So I'm just a couple, but it's like that little arm thing on his the old copper top or whatever. Copper.
What's up? Copper fit, right?
Copper fit. Thank you, copper top.
Does Coach have any? I don't think Coach has any media deals.
But no. I was just saying.
Most coaches don't.
Those years, you don't see a whole bunch with Brett Favre. People know he is skeezy. You don't see
because how fast was it covered up with the Giants?
Yeah. He isn't all over the place.
I mean, Jacob, remember one thing, my friend. He made a lot of money, so he don't have to kill himself anyway, so it doesn't matter. But Jennifer,
no one's offering. They offered the Mannings everything. They offered Brady everything.
All right, well, that's fine. I mean, I'm not sure. So, Jennifer, I want to ask you a question. You brought up an interesting point. Do you feel that Brad Stevens is jealous that Udoka is doing better than him on the court? I would think that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking you. I've never.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at this whole thing here.
And I actually thought that before all this came out. I think I even said it on the NBA carousel. I was like, I wonder what Stevens' thoughts are. Is he proud of himself for making a good hire? Or is he envy and jealous?
And Scott, before you continue, I mean, you will be surprised how far, I'm sure you know, envy will drive a person.
Oh, yeah. No. I've seen it over the years. If he's that jealous, he should have forgotten about the fact that don't even bring in the assistant. He should get back on the sidelines and go back and coach again.
He sucked as a coach, though.
Pardon me?
He sucked as a coach, though. Like he wasn't that good of a coach.
All right, but
with all the star talent power he had, literally when Stevens was the head coach, with the star power he had, and you get the star power because you're a good player, he can do it.
I remember that, Jennifer. When
I know you do. I'm just saying, like, no, I'm not. I don't like
he moved upstairs. Danny Ainge with the Jazz, and then you had whatever the guy's name is. I'm bad on that pronunciation. So I get 99% of them right, but not that one.
Well, think about Ime Udoka for a second.
I kind of got Matt Rule vibes from him, Scott. If that tells you anything.
think of Ime Udoka for a second, though. You talk about jealousy. There could easily be jealousy because he looks a lot like Idris Elba, and Idris Elba was considered the sexiest man alive.
Yeah,
and it's like, and plus the fact he looks cool. Ime Udoka looks cool. Like he looks like he can control the room and everything.
And he had me along as his girl for 10, 12 years.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like I'm just saying, he looks cool. He looks like he walks into a grocery store and they turn around. He just does. Brad Stevens does not. I mean, Brad Stevens, decently handsome, doesn't look like that. He doesn't have the same control over. I think he's decent enough coach. He's had some winning seasons, but here's the thing: he doesn't have the same control over his players. Coolio's dead, by the way.
Who?
If you're referring to Udoka is cool, then I'll go back.
Coolio's dead.
I'll go back to an old line that Keith Jackson would say. He got it.
but yeah, I just said Coolio dead at 59. But the
Coolio's dead?
Yeah, just died.
I may need a minute. I mean, I'll take a minute after the show, but yeah.
But no, dude, I was breaking. It was on TMZ, by the way. But the
texting my husband.
Yep. But the thing I was saying though is the fact that Brad Stevens, I think, is a decent enough coach, but the thing is he didn't have the same control of his players, didn't have the same control of people. He doesn't walk into a room and have a head turn. And yeah, there would be jealousy based off that.
All right. Well, it's interesting. I like to hear. Listen, you know what? I like to hear different perspectives of things that I normally wouldn't think about, especially in a day when I was brought up watching guys like Chuck Daly and all these great coaches.
Well, look how Chuck Daly dressed. Look how Pat Riley dressed.
Yeah, no, they dressed pretty good. These guys.
I'm just saying, Scott, real quick. I've always put Pat Riley and like a Chuck Daly, well, not even Chuck Daly, but Pat Riley as the one that ended the nerd coaches.
Yes,
I mean, Bob Weiss's, the Rod Rosties, he ended them. You had to have a look and an image to get in there once Pat Riley. You know what I mean? Chuck Daly with his perfect hair and, all that stuff. Guess what? Casey Jones could absolutely dress.
Well, let me tell you something, and I know this for a fact because I lived it, okay? Chuck Daly and Pat Riley had competition who could dress better. That's how competitive they were with.
But that's a fun competition.
Oh, no. Hey, I'm trying to remember the nickname that they called Chuck Daly. Oh, gosh, I'm drawing a blank. But anyways, it was just fun to watch Chuck Daly and Pat Riley.
Well, as I said, Casey Jones could dress. Casey Jones was impeccable, too.
Well, we do actually have to go on to our next topic. We got about 15 minutes left and 2 more to go. This is a great topic. We could go on all night on this one. But this one right here, Interesting to see you guys' thoughts on this one. Children weight training too young. So I think with Jen, was this yours?
No, it's mine.
No.
It was
Jacob.
mine.
Okay,
I wanted Jen in on this big time because she was a swimmer. She was
okay,
a swimmer, and I wanted her in on this one.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say just real quick, and then I'll swing it on to Jen here. Yeah, children weight training too young. I mean, it's been proven that it stunts their growth and whatnot. But I can't help but think of the angle of the whole parents wanting to live through their kid kind of deal. So they push and push and push and push them to succeed, athletically, and it could lead to them, weight training too young. I believe the minimum is 16 years old. One time I saw, this years and years back, but it was just like he looked like he could like junior bodybuild. He was like 14, and I was like, yeah, dude's already got it, but he's 14 years old. Like, what's it gonna do to him later on? But I mean, Jen, what do you think about this? What's your angle on this?
So the Mayo Clinic says that you can start as early as 7 or 8, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to be healthy about it. You have to be smart about it. The parents have to be wise about it. But that's also why you have, like, most people aren't going to have all the weight training stuff in their personal home. But that's where you also have people outside to be like, no, we've done a little too much. No, that's too heavy. X, Y, and Z. Personally, I'm all for training. I started swimming when I was 6. I don't think I wasn't really in a weight room till I was like 10 or 11 though. And even then it was just light repetitions, but I think it's fine as long as it's done in a healthy way, like anything else.
Okay.
As long as they're not going in there trying to bench, 50, 60 pounds or more.
Right. It's got to be in moderation.
Like, yeah. If you're stopping at like 25 pounds and you're 7 or 8, that's still a lot.
Might be.
And I'm including the bar in that too, by the way. I'm including, like, me in my mind, I'm just going with like bench press. But like, so I'm including the bar, which is at least 5 to 10 pounds. And it's always clearly marked how heavy that is. But that's the max. And that depends on the kid. It depends on the kid.
Always depends.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But you do have parents, and Jay, you're right, that do want to live vicariously through their kid. I was raised, and I think all of us were raised in a healthy, loving, familial environment where our parents would push us to do our best, but not to the point where we would get hurt. Oh, so that's how I see it. Plus, it helps with kids having so much energy. It helps them get that energy out. It helps focus them in school. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty much what I'm going to say somewhat on my next topic too. But look at Michael Phelps. Like, swimming saved his ADHD career, and he's won more medals than Zeus did. Yeah. So,
well, the thing is, there is one thing. When I was saying training, I don't mean pool. Pool's awesome. In fact, you were a competitive swimmer. The type of muscles that it works, and it's a healthy way of training. For one thing, it's almost a weightless training. You know what I'm saying? You're going into the water.
You're somewhere. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you're going. I knew what you
mean, because when you're recovering from most surgeries, they want you to do like a water aerobics or something like that.
Yes, and it's like that is that. But I'm looking on video, and they're showing a 9-year-old girl lifting 105 pounds with a power lift.
See, that's too much.
I don't want to see that.
No, that's too much. And that's unhealthy.
Yeah, and they don't, and those things, and then, but these are the same parents who are having an 8-year-old kid throwing a curveball. And it's like, and then that kid's going to be 18 and have to go get to Tommy John already, which means a second Tommy John when they're 26. And it's like the biggest thing is, a lot of it is living vicariously through the parents, but everything is, we do have a competitiveness, but here's the deal. What is wrong? What is seriously wrong with teaching the kids to pitch like Greg Maddux until about 15? A fastball and a changeup. I'm saying a fastball and a changeup. Huh?
You want to teach, I'm going to disagree with you. You want to teach the techniques and the basics at the beginning. Because as a swimmer, when I switched clubs, I had to relearn how to swim breaststroke because I had been taught wrong. I was 16 when I switched swim associations, and that took a lot. So you want to get the proper technique down when you're now. Do you need to do it every single day? No, not in a game setting. If you want to practice it every day, sure, why not? But not in a game setting.
Well, just real quick, I want to swing to Scott for his thoughts real fast. But before you go on your thoughts, what age were you when you first played a competitive sport, and how did y'all go about it?
I played competitive sports when I was like 5 or 6 years old playing hockey, and then went on to play baseball. That's different. Hockey and baseball.
I was 6 starting basketball, 7 starting baseball. Played for about 10 to 11, a couple of years of flag football. Didn't do martial arts until I was 24. Tennis, I did 12. I was 12 years old.
Right.
And, so I played 6 different sports. So I mean, I forget let's see, baseball, basketball, hockey. I played 3 years of hockey.
Yeah.
So 17 to 20.
Right.
So, y'all are from up north, so I figure y'all played hockey.
Yeah, the sports that I played competitively younger, Jacob, were hockey, baseball, and basketball is what I did. I never got into football or anything. That's what I did.
But it's like growing up, I mean, I was painfully skinny. I wasn't the athlete that Jenn's been. You know what I mean? I would still call you an athlete because you're not going to forget the stroke.
No.
The stroke, you're not going to forget it.
It kills me when I see people improperly swimming.
Yeah, and it's like, no, you're not.
It sounds dumb, but it really does. But I'm the same way because I also ran cross country. I attempted I played soccer for 2 seasons. Also, I tried gymnastics when I was really little, but my nickname is Grace for a reason. So,
but my thing is growing up. I mean, my dad was a letterman in 2 sports, football and wrestling.
Yeah,
he was lettered. He did, and I found the letter. I've actually found the letter before he died. He never. Yeah, he had a little shoebox. Actually, he never wanted to admit. He always used to say, "Well, those running backs used to run right by me. I was strong, but they run right by me." And then he'd say the wrestling one. He'd say, "Well, I beat the number 1 guy on our team," and blah blah blah. But end up he had a letter on those. But but you want to know what he had me to do? Until I was about 14, he would just say push-ups. And I'm skinny, so I didn't have great push-ups. But I'm like, he'd say push-up. He would just build it like crazy. Push-up. Pull-ups, which I couldn't do crap on. I mean, sit-ups, crunches. He would just body weight stuff. He'd want me to go for a run sometimes, which I didn't do. But everything was body weight stuff, and it's like I was just pushed into my head on something. So it's like, to me, I don't know what the issue is with teaching people, because you can get, like I was bringing up, and I understand what you meant, Jenn, but I can understand, but I don't see when it is completely obvious that you can place a ball as a pitcher and get people out. You can teach running properly and they won't get shin splints. You can teach everything, especially when you get over powerhouses and overtraining and people getting hurt. You can get farther. But I don't think everybody seems to want to get. They want the kids now, but then it murders the kids later.
Yeah, well, the thing is, and I agree 100% wholeheartedly with Jenn, is you teach them the techniques first, because they'll always get older and get to an appropriate age to where they can build that size in the weight room, and then they can go off to high school and college and play. Because I can tell you, I played Little League ball at 10 years old, and I got to about 11, 12 years old. They were throwing curves and changeups.
Oh yeah. Well, let me point out a couple
I was
things.
14 when it stopped, and they were throwing curves then. I was done.
Go ahead, Scott. Continue.
Yeah, let me point out a couple things. I also used to like to do endurance swimming across lakes, as well as long distance swimming. But I'll give you a real short answer on this because I got long-winded on a couple other ones. Me personally, children weight training too young, I'm against it totally. Their muscles are developing. They are. And I really struggle with them.
Bones and joints.
But and that's why I say it has to be within a reasonable limit. Like 105-pound.
Yeah, but Jenn, you know what?
By a 9-year-old, that's ridiculous.
I get that, but you know what? There's certain things you start young and certain ones you don't. And I just don't think weight training is one of them. That's just my opinion. Take it for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
I have a problem with them doing that too young.
No, if it's Jacob, question. Were you talking just weight training as a sport itself?
Oh,
or
I by itself, training by itself. I mean, because when you know, and like I said, when it was what was pushed into my head, even though I wish I would have had the discipline from that time to be able to, I wouldn't have been so darn skinny. But when it was pushed like that, but then I still did do push-ups. I still do everything. I might have a cranky back here and there, but I just stretch every day. But I don't have 1 ounce of a cranky joints, bad joints. I don't have all that kind of stuff like that. I still stand up straight, walk well. There are people now my age that, they started so young. I see them limping now. This is from the high school in the air, and I've seen them. And they do not look healthy.
But that's other stuff too. And honestly, it's not just weight training, because for me, so I wasn't weight training when I first started swimming.
Right.
Like we would be on like the pool deck, like using our cores and things like that for exercise before that, using our natural body weight as training. But
I absolutely don't believe you need to
here's
weight
the
training
thing:
if you're swimming.
part of that mentality that it gives you, or at least it gave me, is to keep pushing through.
Hey, y'all.
And that mentality has to start at a young age, because I know I've said this to you, Jacob, but I think most people are so angry and so bored and want to cancel Ellen all over again because they're raised with that victim mentality. People are not born to be a victim.
Yeah.
They're born to their strengths.
Yep.
And that is what young people working out and exercising and even some weight training, and I do think it needs to be limited, is all about.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'll go back on my thought. I'm sorry, Jacob. I'll go back on my thought. I just don't think it started too young. That's
my big thing is, to me, and this as someone like you, before we get on to our last subject here.
I don't know if we'll have time.
Yeah, I think we do. And it's like, but the thing is, my thing is that I truly have a belief that if you're swimming and you're swimming all the time, your muscles are used anyway. You're in great shape.
Yeah, but you still have to. Yeah, absolutely. I was doing 2-a-days during the summer, 3-hour practices during the winter at night, and I loved it, and it was great. But part of that was in the gym.
Good.
You have to continue. You, as an athlete, as someone who watched Mark Spritz in the 1980 LA Olympics, decided that's what I wanted to do. Just watching that, like when you're at that caliber, and I wasn't even a top-notch athlete. I really wasn't. Like, I did my personal best, but you have to have that all-around circuit training to increase how you're doing in the water.
Yeah. Well, we're like running real low on time here. I think we're probably going to end up going over a minute, but just real quick, just to cover, because Scott's got to get on the sports exchange. Real quick around the horn. Last topic, real quick around the horn. 17-year-old MMA fighter, good or bad idea? Real quick for me, bad idea. Bad idea.
Bad. That sport's tough enough at 25 or 30, let alone 17. So no.
Yeah, you would throw a high schooler in there? No. Go ahead, Jacob.
I had 2 MMA fights, lost both of them. Take it from me, it's a beating. My issue with the issue with it is more mental too. You give a kid who's building their testosterone that kind of cockiness, it takes a certain level of confidence. You give them that thing, they feel completely invincible. Then the real let down when they do lose a fight. Because the idea of adults being in fighting, the idea of an adult is you can handle wins and losses, even if you're cocky and don't think you can lose. That's the idea. That's your mental state of your brain. A kid's brain's not built for that yet. They think they're invincible. Then it's a real letdown, real depression when they do lose.
Yep. Jen.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of getting somebody to have their foot kick me in the head with it. Sorry about that.
Okay, so I actually have a different opinion than Jacob, obviously. So, shocker, right?
Because they hate each other.
Just better than you. Okay, training 13, fine. Actually, MMA law rules, you can't do an actual MMA fight till you're 18. Part of why I'm okay with the training is because it helps build confidence. And it helps, like, if you get overly confident, then you're going to lose. But it helps build confidence as well.
Oh, I'm for the training of MMA. I mean,
but the actual fight, you can't do the actual fight until you're 18.
Well, yeah, I was just seeing them. They signed. It was the league that signed at 17. But it's like that was my point of it, is the fact that it's like this is just such a rough idea to me, because I'm like, and you're right on that. They couldn't do it until you're 18.
And it also teaches you control too.
Well, mind you,
very much like karate. Like you have to be able to be controlled.
And you know something? And I love what you're saying on that, because I got my black belt. And I want to get I want to go up higher. I want to get back, and I want to go up higher. And the thing is, it teaches, but I'm also 44 years old.
Yeah, you old.
Yes, you damn straight. And but I'm a proud old. I'm a proud old, and I'm better than the youngins.
Well, let me tell you, I got a black belt too, but over at the flea market, so we're good.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. No, $3.95 JCPenney. No, but but no, I got mine. But I'm 44, and it's like I just say this: I'm prouder now to be 44 than ever, because my control, my focus, my everything is so much better at this. As I said, as far as the fighting, I'm for 21. I just am. It's like, as much as anything else, you can have immaturity early, but not of them are. And it's like, I think about now that we're working on depression.
You got to remember, Jacob, if you're at that caliber of athlete, by the time you're 21 in our world, you're mid-30s.
Well,
you got to remember that.
Well, the thing is, I don't say that you need to do it in other things. I just know that fighting is so different, is what I meant. Fighting is such a different thing, where you can get hit, where you can get all that stuff. They can you can be injured so early by just being struck.
And me personally, I'm a boxing guy anyways, and Muhammad Ali was my idol, and he outsmart people. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. But those are just my things. It's like, those are just my things. In fact, this part of my life now, maybe the rest of my life, I'm looking for ways to start to get people using their intelligence. Mind you, am I saying don't have MMA? Hell no. I love MMA. I love boxing. I like all the martial arts. I love them all. But yeah. I started doing
karate. Like, I was very active as a kid, but I started doing karate when I was like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
My parents had my brother and I. It really helped us focus.
Why do you think
it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Why do you think they call boxing the sweet science? Okay, because people got to use it upstairs. Okay.
I love the training, Jen. That's what I was saying. I love the training. Everything that has nothing to do with like hurting kids' joints. I love training. I'm not telling kids not to exercise, obviously. I just want.
But I think the training.
I just want people to start. What'd you say?
I think the training helps increase the strength of the joints, as well, as long as they're smart about it. No, of course you're going to get hurt sometimes, but and my husband is saying just don't let them do BJJ.
Yeah, so. I just love I'm just saying, I just love the idea of the trying, and it's a moot point. It's obviously been moot right now, but I love the idea of trying to get kids intelligent using their heads. And we're in a world where we're using the internet, and everybody's stupid.
That's where athletics and youth come hand in hand.
Yeah.
You have to use your head when you're an athlete.
Yeah.
When you're swimming, you have to know, like, it's dumb, but you have to know when to breathe. When you're doing the backstroke, you have to be able to know your body count for you to do your flip turn. Like, y'all see me trying to do a flip turn, right? And
I believe it. You're a swimmer.
We need to carry this conversation next week. You guys
we have to wrap, guys. We're about 3 over, but like I said, excellent topic. There probably will be a part 2 to this one, maybe with a little bit of twist to it. But hey, I just want to thank everybody that tuned into Pundits Pundit. And if you can boogie on over to South Florida Tribune on YouTube, there's going to be Scott Morganroth's The Sports Exchange. And Jacob, the Pundit's going to be there as well. And after that, boogie on back to Sideline Sports and check out the Sports Arena at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be on there. James Tatum, Philly Jim's going to be on there, as well as John Shear. We're going to have a lot of fun and have a loaded show. So real quick, Scott Morganroth, around the horn, where can they find you?
All right. On Twitter at Tribune South. You said it, Denzel. Go to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel so you can see Jacob, myself, and plenty others. And also www.southfloridatribune.com. I went ahead and talked as fast as I drive a NASCAR.
Absolutely. Jacob, what about you?
Pundits Pundit Wednesday nights, the Sports Exchange for the doubleheader. Thursday nights, except for this week, the Yin and Yang with TJ Sanson. That's TJ Sanson. And we're talking about movies, politics. It's a little bit of a different deal. Some Saturday nights, Gauntlet. Some Saturday nights, depending when they ask. Sunday nights, Basket Bros with all of you guys. With Denzel, we got we got Will, we got Dom, and with a beer or without. It's mostly with a beer. And Monday nights during the season, the Megan Price's NBA Carousel, and Tuesday nights the Confidential during the season.
And Jacob, you got me on Basket Bros too, pal.
Yep, you better believe it.
Throwback basketball all the time. Jen, on you.
Excuse me, Scott. Jacob didn't get you on Basket Bros.
No, I say he forgot to mention my name.
Yeah,
no, Jennifer pulled that one off.
Yeah,
just like she's on inside the pigskin.
You always got Jen in your corner. Jen, on you.
Don't worry, I'm feisty.
No.
I love you guys. Y'all can find me on 3 Chicks and a Pod. Most Tuesday nights, we did take our breather this week. And then we're also launching Chicks and Salsa with you like the name, don't you? And then I'm on Confidential during the season. And I've also got the Pundits Pundit tonight during the NFL season. We have Alex Fleming's NFL Carousel, as well as the Sports Inside the Pigskin. Sorry, I was thinking Sports Exchange. I share producing duties with Jay. And they for Basket Bros, and I am EP for NBA Carousel, as well as a commentator during the season. And I work with Megan a lot on that. So,
and you know what, Jennifer and Candy, the new dynamic duo. There you go.
Yep,
the new dynamic duo, absolutely. What?
Oh,
hey,
and Jay,
uh-huh.
Do not fart on the sports arena tonight. I will be able to tell.
If I did, you'd hear it from all the way in Charlotte. But
I know, especially when you send me videos.
Well, hey, for the Motor City Madmouth, Jacob Christner, and Jen, I'm Denzel Snipes. Thank everybody for watching the Pundits Pundit. Get on over to South Florida Tribune. The Sports Exchange is in just a few minutes, but we will see you in 7 days. Peace out, everyone.
Peace.